With Russia's invasion of Ukraine now in its third year, the conflict has profoundly reshaped the way organized crime works, not only in Russia and Ukraine, but across much of Europe. Prior to the war, organized crime groups in both countries actually had a very close working relationship. The annexation of Donbass and Crimea in 2014 made such collaboration easier, as it allowed for the smuggling of everything from drugs, weapons, timber, and counterfeit goods. But since the war began, any such partnerships between Ukrainian and Russian mafias has ended. This was not just for political reasons, but with the collapse of existing smuggling routes, everybody has had to find new ways of doing business. Let's take a look at how Russia's invasion of Ukraine has changed organized crime in Europe. I'm Chris Dolby, and welcome to World of Crime. Prior to the war, due to its strategic location between Europe, Russia and Turkey, and with easy access to the Black Sea, Ukraine saw heroin arriving east from Afghanistan and a limited amount of cocaine from Latin America through Europe. The city of Kharkiv and the port of Odessa were known transit points for the drug trade, but this has collapsed in the last 2 years. Since the war began, the demand for synthetic drugs in Ukraine has exploded. A large part of this demand comes from soldiers themselves. Studies have shown a spike in demand for methamphetamines, painkillers like methadone, and designer drugs such as alpha-PVP at the front. The latter category, known as salts, can be injected or smoked, and are being used to an alarming degree by Ukrainian and Russian soldiers alike. So, who is behind this drug flow into Ukraine? The Kimprom Group is a drug ring made up of Ukrainian and Russian elements. It is largely responsible for the influx of synthetic drugs such as alpha-PVP and salts into Ukraine, as well as the chemical precursors needed to make them. Besides Russia and Ukraine, Kimprom has a presence in Belarus, Georgia, Kazakhstan, the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and has the financial clout to corrupt police officers and government officials who ensure a supply of drugs to the front lines. The group has labs all over Russia and Central Asia, and operates on a franchise model. But Kimprom has received surprisingly little attention in the West, despite being a well-known crime group. Kimprom is one of the largest providers of synthetic drugs to Ukraine, but it may be that its activities are being tolerated by military officials, as they cater to the demand for synthetics among exhausted Ukrainian soldiers. And the group is growing. Its franchise model means that Kimprom can hire producers of synthetic drugs that team up with the larger group without ever needing any physical contact. Kimprom simply sends producers the chemicals they need, and then the drugs are sold through a dark web marketplace named Rutor. Rarely for a criminal group, Kimprom actually values customer service. They allegedly even have official call centers that unsatisfied customers can ring up to complain. In December 2022, then Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari made an alarming claim. Speaking at a major conference in Africa, he claimed that weapons from the war in Ukraine were turning up in the Sahel region of West Africa, where Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have all seen recent coups. Worse, he implied these weapons had made their way into the hands of terrorists. Buhari provided no solid evidence, but it set off a political bomb. A major concern as the war in Ukraine has continued is whether the stockpiles of weapons there would make their way into the wrong hands. This risk has been seen in Afghanistan, where American weapons ended up in the hands of the Taliban. Arsenals from Libya, following the fall of Gaddafi, have also spread across Africa. A 2023 Pentagon report found that dozens of rifles, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and other hardware donated to Ukraine early in the war had been stolen and never recovered. Worryingly, one Russian crime group was able to get its hands on weapons including grenade launchers and machine guns intended for Ukrainian soldiers. The International Legion, made up of foreign fighters going to fight for Ukraine, has also been a source of controversy. The Kiev Independent newspaper found that over a dozen foreign fighters alleged that commanders in the Legion were stealing light weapons, and even anti-tank missiles have been reported as missing from armories. Soldiers reported seeing unmarked SUVs rolling up to army bases and leaving loaded with arms. Investigations into these allegations have been hampered by vast Russian disinformation campaigns, which state that Western arms are being stolen and trafficked on an industrial scale. There is no evidence of that level of arms trafficking in Ukraine as of yet. The displacement of at least a third of Ukraine's population has significantly increased the opportunities for human traffickers and smugglers. Since the Russian annexation of Donbass and Crimea in 2014, a great number of Ukrainian women have been found trafficked to Russia, Israel, Germany and Poland after being promised jobs abroad. The trafficking of Ukrainian children to Russia has also been widely reported. In 2023, the Ukrainian government put the number of children taken to Russia at 19,500. But the true figures may never be known. One lesser aspect of human smuggling in Ukraine is about how organized crime has helped draft dodgers to escape the country. The government has banned all men between the ages of 18 and 60 from traveling abroad. But smugglers have used a variety of methods to assist these draft dodgers, most often smuggling them out through Moldova and Poland. Typically, small groups of men are transported across the border, with the operation carefully orchestrated to avoid detection. The cost can vary, but men usually pay between 5,000 and 15,000 euros each. A Telegraph report in February 2024 estimated that around 20,000 draft dodgers had been caught, but a higher number had escaped. The smugglers' methods are diverse and sophisticated, involving the use of forged documents and bribes. Border guards have frequently been bribed, and thousands of forged documents have been discovered at checkpoints, as well as in Poland and Hungary. These documents often include counterfeit certificates of people being unfit for military service, aiming to provide a legal cover for their departure. But the smuggling networks are becoming more and more advanced. They include professionals such as lawyers and doctors who contribute their expertise to create these fictitious documents. Fake birth certificates are also being created, as the fathers of 3 or more children can leave the country. Another method involves registering potential conscripts as humanitarian aid workers transporting medical supplies. And the databases of real humanitarian agencies have even been accessed by smuggling groups to enter fraudulent information. A criminal economy around the theft and misappropriation of humanitarian aid has developed quickly in the last 2 years. In September 2023, Ukrainian customs revealed that over 9,000 cases of missing aid for the military had been reported. Now, this could cover a wide range of goods and supplies intended for the front line. While weapons are not included, the missing goods included protective equipment, helmets, body armor, and even vehicles. Ukrainian customs say that since such shipments do not have to pay customs fees to enter the country, other types of contraband may be being intentionally mislabeled as humanitarian aid by smugglers and then vanishing when inside the country. And despite Ukraine being in desperate need of foreign support, top-level corruption involving these funds has been common. In January 2024, the Ukrainian government confirmed that senior defense officials had tried to embezzle up to $40 million intended to buy mortar rounds. This came after President Zelensky fired every official in charge of military equipment last year, proving that corruption runs very deep in the Ukrainian government. Enterprising criminals have even posted fake online profiles on social media or on fundraising sites posing as victims and seeking funds and supplies from kind-hearted donors around the world. Since the war began, Ukraine's borders with the West have become looser to trade, with customs duties and checks often suspended to allow for goods and refugees to pass through quickly. But contraband networks are using this to their advantage. The illegal logging of pine, spruce, oak, and beech was commonplace in Ukraine before, but the country was improving its anti-timber trafficking laws. These are now much harder to enforce due to the war, especially as Russia's attacks on Ukraine's energy system have caused many people to stockpile firewood. It is unknown what quantity of illegal timber might now be leaving Ukraine. The car smuggling industry has also been transformed. The destruction and scarcity caused by the war have spiked the demand for vehicles in Ukraine, leading to a rise in the entrance of stolen cars from Europe. Smugglers use forged documents or exploit legal loopholes to bring the stolen vehicles into Ukraine, where they are sold on the black market. Finally, cigarette smuggling has long been a problem at Ukraine's borders with Europe. The war has made it worse. The increased militarization at the border has forced smugglers to develop more sophisticated methods of evasion. In December 2023, Ukraine dismantled a tobacco trafficking ring, which used a hang glider to get the cigarettes across the border into Poland, and drones to watch for any border guards. And that's it. We'll be bringing you more soon on crime in Ukraine, including a deep dive into Kimprom, the drug gang selling synthetic drugs to Ukrainian and Russian soldiers alike. Please share and subscribe to stay up to date on crime stories from around the world. Until next time, this was World of Crime.